Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Arunodayam Biology. Today we are going to learn about a different type of respiratory organs in case of animals from respiration topic from life processes chapter. Respiratory organs present in case of animals. So in our previous videos we have seen how respiration takes place in our body that too at a cell level. That too at a cell level. The breakdown of food material, digested food material with the help of oxygen and release of energy is called as a respiration. So during this process along with energy carbon dioxide is also produced. That is what we have seen in case of our last videos. Isn't it? We have seen how aerobic and anaerobic respirations takes place. Isn't it? So now we are going to learn what are the different type of respiratory organs present in case of animals. During evolution, invertebrates and vertebrates are developed on our earth. Okay, and these animals have evolved different type of respiratory organs for respiration. So different organs, different respiratory organs are present in different animals. In case of terrestrial animals, if we see terrestrial animals, that means the animals which are living on land, they'll take atmospheric oxygen, that means a gaseous form of oxygen. They will take directly gaseous form of oxygen from air. So their respiratory organs are designed according to that. Their respiratory organs, the respiratory organs in case of terrestrial animals are designed to take atmospheric oxygen. Okay, whereas in case of aquatic animals, that means animals which are living in water, they will take dissolved oxygen. Dissolved oxygen means the oxygen which is dissolved in water. So their respiratory organs are designed to take dissolved oxygen. Okay, their respiratory organs are designed to take dissolved oxygen from water. So different type of respiratory organs are present in case of animals. Although different respiratory organs are present in animals, their function is the same. All the respiratory organs function is to take oxygen from outside and using that oxygen to break down the food material and releases the carbon dioxide which is produced during respiration to outside. Okay, so all these respiratory organs function is to take oxygen from outside and releases carbon dioxide to outside. Since the amount of dissolved oxygen is low compared to the amount of oxygen in the air, actually we have 21% of oxygen in our air. Okay, 21% of gaseous form of oxygen is present in atmosphere, but amount of oxygen present in water is low when compared to atmospheric oxygen. Because of this, the rate of breathing is much faster in case of aquatic animals than we can see in terrestrial animals. As the amount of oxygen is less in water, the rate of breathing is more or faster in case of aquatic animals than terrestrial animals. So this we can see in case of fishes also. If we observe aquarium fishes, we can clearly see that they will constantly open and closes their mouth and gill slits for respiration, isn't it? So if we observe a fish in an aquarium, they constantly uses their mouth. They opens their mouth constantly. They will move their gill slits also. Actually, the respiratory organs in case of fishes are gills. Gills. So they will use gills for respiration. How respiration takes place in case of fishes? Actually, in case of fishes, when we observe a fish in an aquarium, we can see constantly they will open and close their mouth and gill slits, isn't it? Isn't it? So, in case of fishes, gills plays an important role for respiration. Those gills are present in gill slits. So, when fishes open their mouth, the oxygen, the dissolved oxygen which is present in the water enters into mouth. So the oxygen along with water enters into mouth and it passes through pharynx and enters into gill slits. Gill slits. So here in the gill slits, what happens is the amount of oxygen present in the water is more when compared to the oxygen present in fish's blood. So here a process called diffusion takes place. Diffusion means movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. Here oxygen concentration is more in dissolved water, whereas less in case of a fish's blood. So here what happens, the oxygen from the water passes through the gills and enters into blood. Okay, that means from higher concentration to lower concentration. So likewise, the carbon dioxide concentration is more in case of fish's body than the water entered into it. So Obviously respiration takes place along with energy, carbon dioxide releases, no. So because of that, carbon dioxide concentration is more in fish's blood when compared to that of in the water. So what happens here is again diffusion takes place. Carbon dioxide moves from higher concentration, that means from fish's body to water, and this water along with carbon dioxide moves out of the fish's body through gill slits. So this is how respiration takes place in case of fishes. So oxygen will enter through their mouth and carbon dioxide will leave the body through gill slits. Okay, the type of respiration taking place through gills is called as a branchial respiration. Called as a branchial respiration. Of course, the explanation was not given in our CBSE syllabus. If you want a detailed explanation of this, you can go through my respiration playlist. In old syllabus, we have these topics. Please go through them if you want. Okay, now let us see in case of terrestrial animals. So likewise, how in case of aquatic animals we have seen how respiration takes place through gill slits. So here in case of terrestrial animals also we have different organs for respiration. Different organs for respiration. Say for example, in case of insects like butterflies, grasshoppers, cockroaches, these insects have a special respiratory organ called trachea in their body. Trachea means a windpipe. So many windpipes are present. That means so many trachea are present in their body for taking oxygen from atmosphere and releasing carbon dioxide into atmosphere. Okay, insects have respiratory organs called trachea in their body, and the type of respiration taking place in them is called as a tracheal respiration. Why? Because respiration is taking place through trachea, no, that's why respiration in them is called as tracheal respiration. Okay, in some animals like frogs, earthworms, here skin plays a major role in respiration. So in them the respiratory organ is a skin. So they will take atmospheric oxygen through their skin and releases carbon dioxide also through their skin only. So that type of respiration taking place through skin is called as a cutaneous respiration. Cutaneous respiration. Okay. Next, in case of animals like us, human beings, cows, dogs, buffaloes, in all these animals, we have lungs in our body for respiration. We have lungs to take atmospheric oxygen and to release carbon dioxide. We have lungs in our body, and the type of respiration taking place through lungs is called as pulmonary respiration. Pulmonary respiration. Okay, respiration through lungs is called pulmonary respiration. Respiration through skin is called cutaneous respiration. Through trachea is called tracheal respiration. And we have seen aquatic animals, gills, no? So through gills is called branchial respiration. So this is how different animals have different respiratory organs for respiration. Okay. And in all these organisms, in all these animals, different organs are present, no? And in these different organs, a very thin and delicate structure is present for increasing the surface area to take atmospheric oxygen. So whatever the respiratory organ may be, whatever the animal may be, their respiratory organs have a very thin and delicate structure. Very thin and delicate structure or surface is present, which is useful for increasing the surface area for absorption of atmospheric oxygen. They will take as much of oxygen from atmosphere into their body by using this structure. The structure is very thin and delicate in nature. It is very delicate, no, that's why it is placed deep inside the body for protection. Okay, that respiratory organ will be present deep inside the body for protection. As it is present deep inside the body, there must be some passages which will take air from outside into them. We are taking air from outside. We are taking oxygen through air from outside, isn't it? And this structure is present deep inside the body. So between these two, some passages are present which will take that air from atmosphere to this structure. Okay, and the mechanism which is taking place in this structure is called as diffusion. Already we have discussed about it. So the air after reaching this structure, a process called diffusion takes place. That means exchange of gases takes place. The oxygen from higher concentration moves into blood, and carbon dioxide from higher concentration moves into air. So this process is called as diffusion that takes place in our body. So we are going to discuss about it in detail by taking a human body as an example. Okay, so we are going to learn how respiration takes place by taking human beings as an example. Let us learn about a human respiratory system. Okay, human respiratory system, how our respiratory system works, what are the structures present in them, let us learn. First of all, just like our digestive tract, respiratory system is also present in the form of a tube in our body. Respiratory system is also present in the form of a tube. So that's why we are calling this as a respiratory tract, just like human digestive system. So digestive system in our body is also just like a long tube-like structure. That's why we are calling that as a digestive tract, isn't it? So likewise, here also respiratory system is present in the form of tube. Now that's why we will call this as a respiratory tract. Respiratory tract, it starts with the nose. Actually it starts with the nose. So we will take air from outside into our body. That process is called as inspiration, or when we breathe in. Taking air into our body is called as breathe in or or inspiration. So when we breathe in, air from outside enters into our respiratory tract through the openings present in our nose called as a nostrils. The two openings present in our nose are called as a nostrils. So through these nostrils only, air from outside enters into our nose, enters into our respiratory tract. Next, through these nostrils, the air enters into a cavity present in the nose called as a nasal cavity. Nasal cavity or nasal passage. The air present in the cavity, the empty space present in the nose is called as a nasal cavity or nasal passage. This nasal cavity contains so many fine hair-like structures. Small hair-like structures are present in our nasal cavity. They will help in filtering the air. They will help in preventing the entry of dust particles into respiratory tract. Actually, the air which we breathe in contains so many dust particles, isn't it? So these dust particles must not enter into our lungs, isn't it? Okay, for that purpose, our nasal cavity contains a fine, small hair-like structures which act as a filters. They prevent the entry of dust particles into our respiratory tract. So here in the nasal cavity, air is filtered by fine hair-like structures. Fine hair-like structures. So in addition to these hairs, we have a mucus lining also. This nasal cavity is lined with a small membrane called as a mucous membrane. Mucous membrane. That means this membrane is producing some sticky substance called as a mucus. Some sticky substance called as a mucus. So this mucous membrane also helps in filtering the air. So along with this hair, the mucous membrane also sticks dust particles from air to them. So in that way also air gets filtered. So whatever it may be, in the nasal cavity, air gets filtered up and the air enters into our next part of our respiratory tract called as pharynx. This is pharynx. So air enters into pharynx. From the pharynx, the air enters into next part called as a larynx. Larynx is also called as a sound box. Sound box. So air from the pharynx enters into larynx. From there it enters into this tube called as a trachea. This tube is called as a trachea, and this trachea is covered with so many rings of cartilage. Rings of cartilage. So these rings are made up of a soft bone called as a cartilage, which we can observe on our external ear also. Our external ear is made up of cartilage. That's why it is elastic in nature. Okay, so same like that, here also on the trachea, rings of cartilage are present. These rings are made up of cartilage, which helps in preventing the collapse of trachea. They help in preventing the damage of trachea. So there are some situations like when we cough or when we sneeze, air gets rushed out of our lungs through this trachea, isn't it? When we cough or when we sneeze, the air from lungs will get rushed with some force to outside through this trachea. So during those situations, there might be a chance of damage of trachea due to this due to that air rush. Okay, so to prevent the damage, this trachea is covered with the rings of cartilage. So this rings of cartilage provides elasticity to trachea. Elasticity to trachea. So the trachea can expand when we cough or sneeze. So it prevents it from damage. So air from nasal cavity enters into pharynx, from there to larynx, from there to trachea it enters, and from trachea it will enter into two branch like structures called as bronchi. The trachea will divide into two branches called as bronchi. Each bronchi is plural, bronchus is a singular term. So each bronchus enters into each lung. So we have two lungs in our chest cavity. No, the trachea is divided into two branches. Each branch is called as bronchus, and each branch again divides into so many branches in the lungs called as the bronchioles. So after entering into lungs, the bronchi again divides into so many branches called as bronchioles. Okay, and these bronchioles ends up with some balloon like structures called as alveoli. These bronchi, the endings of these bronchi has some balloon like structures called as alveoli. Okay, these are the structural and functional units of lungs. These are the alveoli are the structures where exchange of gases takes place in our lungs. Okay. So these are alveoli, balloon or air sac like structures present at the end of bronchioles is called alveoli. Plural term, alveolus is a singular term. So they help in exchange of gases. Actually these alveoli are called structural and functional units of lungs. Why? Because lungs are made up of millions and millions of these alveoli actually. So the lung structure is made up of these alveoli only. That's why it is called a structural unit of lungs. And it is also called as functional unit of lungs. Why? Because the main function of lungs is exchange of gases, isn't it? So that function takes place in this alveolus only. That's why these alveoli are called functional units of our lungs. So the alveoli are called as a structural and functional units of our lungs. Let us see how exchange of gases takes place in this alveolus. Listen, this is alveolus. This is a one alveolus. So like this, so many millions of alveoli are present in lungs. This is bronchiole. Bronchiole ends with a balloon-like structure called as alveolus. Already we have learnt that our respiratory organs contains some thin and delicate surface for exchange of gases, isn't it? So like that here also alveolus is covered with a very thin and delicate membrane. Very thin and delicate membrane is present around the alveolus for exchange of gases. And these alveoli are connected with an extensive network of blood vessels. These alveoli are connected with so many blood vessels. Here, for example, only one blood vessel was given here. So these alveoli are connected with a network of blood vessels. So this is one blood vessel which contains blood. Okay, so here how exchange of gases takes place. Let us see. So when we take air, when we breathe in, that means during inspiration, air enters into our nose and finally it enters into alveolus, isn't it, through bronchioles. So the air which is present in this alveolus contains both carbon dioxide and oxygen. Both the gases are present in air which we breathe in. Okay. Here, the concentration of oxygen in alveolus is more when compared to that of present in the blood. So, blood also contains, the blood vessel contains blood, no? This blood also contains oxygen, but the concentration of oxygen in alveolus is more when compared to that of present in the blood vessel. So here diffusion takes place. Already we have learned diffusion means a movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. So here also what happens, oxygen concentration is more here, no? That's why it moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. That means oxygen moves from alveolus to blood vessel. Through these small delicate thin membranes, the oxygen will exchange, the oxygen will diffuse from alveolus into blood. At the same time, carbon dioxide also exchanges here. Okay, carbon dioxide which is present in the alveolus concentration is less actually when compared to that of carbon dioxide present in the blood. So the blood contains more carbon dioxide. Why? Because we have learned that during respiration, during the breakdown of food material along with energy, carbon dioxide is produced, isn't it? So carbon dioxide concentration is more in the blood here. So diffusion takes place. That means the carbon dioxide moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. That means moves from a blood vessel to alveolus. So here, like this, exchange of gases takes place. Oxygen moves from alveolus to blood vessel. Carbon dioxide moves from blood vessel to alveolus. Now the air with this carbon dioxide has to move out of our body through uh, in a process called as a exhalation process, expiration process, breathe out process. So when we breathe out the air along with carbon dioxide will move from this alveolus into bronchioles. From bronchioles the air moves into bronchi, bronchi to trachea, from trachea to larynx to pharynx, into nasal passages, and finally the air with carbon dioxide will move out of our nose through nostrils. So this is how expiration takes place. This is how carbon dioxide will get rid of our body through the respiratory tract. Okay. So during the breathing cycle, that means during inhalation and exhalation, some changes takes place in our body. Actually, some changes takes place in our body. When we take air into our body, that means during inhalation, when we breathe in air, so these changes takes place in our body. These are ribs. These are ribs. So these ribs move forward actually during inhalation these ribs moves forward, and a structure called diaphragm is present here. It becomes flattened. So the diaphragm becomes flattened, the ribs moves forward, the chest cavity increases. Actually here chest cavity increases, that means the space present in the lungs increases so that it can accommodate more air. Okay, so as the space present in the lungs increases, the air from outside enters into it and fills in. So these are the changes takes place during inhalation. So during inhalation, the ribs moves forward, diaphragm becomes flattened, the chest cavity increases, the space present in the lungs also increases, the air from outside enters into lungs and accommodates in it. And exactly reverse takes place during exhalation. Okay, reverse takes place during exhalation. So during exhalation, the diaphragm relaxes. The ribs moves backward, the chest cavity decreases, the space present in the lungs also decreases. So that the air present in the lungs will move out of our body through nostrils. That means exhalation takes place. So these are the changes takes place in our body during exhalation and inhalation. Here we have to discuss one more point also. Actually during inhalation we will not exhale all the air present in our lungs. We will not exhale all the air present in our lungs. Actually our lung capacity is 5800 ml. Each lung can hold 5800 ml of air actually. Okay, so even after exhalation 1200 ml of air resides in the lungs. So even after exhalation 1200 ml of air constantly present in our lungs. Why 1200 ml of air is always present in our lungs? Why? Because this air provides sufficient time for oxygen to be absorbed. Okay, so this is a process called as exhalation and inhalation. It will take some time, isn't it? For breathing and breathe out, it will take some time. But the air which is already residing in the lungs, that means that this 1200 ml of air will provide us sufficient time for oxygen to get absorbed and sufficient time for the carbon dioxide to be released. So that's why air will remain in the lungs constantly. Okay, next, when the body size increases, so in case of single cellular organisms like amoeba and paramecium, diffusion is enough for exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. But in case of multicellular organisms like us, diffusion is not enough actually. Diffusion is not enough. So Along with the diffusion, some special respiratory pigments are present in the blood like hemoglobin. So in case of multicellular organisms, along with the diffusion, some special respiratory pigments are present in our blood to transport this oxygen and carbon dioxide gases. So in case of human beings, we have hemoglobin in our blood. Hemoglobin, which has higher affinity for oxygen, it will take as much as amount of oxygen from outside into our cells. So in our blood, hemoglobin, a respiratory pigment is present. This pigment will take oxygen from alveolus to different cells of our body, and at the same time they will take carbon dioxide from different cells of our body to lungs. So for this purpose only, along with the diffusion, we have some respiratory pigments. Okay, so this is how respiration takes place in our body. Understand? So we are talking about respiration now. So starting we have learnt that in case of terrestrial animals and aquatic animals, different types of respiratory organs are present to take atmospheric oxygen and dissolved oxygen. So here we have taken human beings as an example, and we have seen how our respiratory system is designed and how it works. Okay, and one more thing, in do you know, you have one topic that is about alveolus. Alveolar surface was spread out, it would cover about 80 meters square. So I have already said no, millions and millions of alveoli are present in each lung. So if these alveoli are taken out from the lungs, if they are spread on the land, if they are spread on a space, they will cover about 80 meters square of area. So those many millions of alveoli are present in our lungs. If we take alveoli from the lungs and if we place them side by side in an area, they will cover about 80 meters square, which is equivalent to a tennis court. So those many millions of alveoli are present in our lungs. That's why diffusion, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide is taking place. Okay, and one more thing, if diffusion were to move oxygen in our body, it is estimated that it will take 3 years of time. So if only diffusion is present in our body, no respiratory pigments, so for one molecule of oxygen, it will take 3 years of time to move from lungs to toes of our legs. It will take 3 years of time for one molecule of oxygen to move from lungs to the tip of our toes. So thank God that we have respiratory pigments also present in our blood to make the process easy and fast. Isn't it? So that is about our respiratory system. That is about our respiration topic. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me in comment section. I will clarify your doubts. If you find this video super easy or understandable, please like it and share it to your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.